Hi, I'm Tony Levin, and we're here at American Musical Supply. I have a few different approaches to rigs. I have, at home, I have an SVT Pro and a 4x10 mic'd up permanently. I do a lot of home recording, a lot of bass parts for people's albums that I send around the world, and that's my default rig. And it's great, but it's really heavy, and I have it up in my attic, and I'm not carrying it out of there until I sell the house, I think, or stop doing recordings. When I tour, it depends very much who I'm touring with. If it's one of the smaller groups, like my band Stickmen or Levin Brothers, jazz stuff, then I carry one of the small Ampegs like we have here, and something I can lift and carry in. And if I'm touring with Peter Gabriel or King Crimson, it's an SVT, but usually not mine. Usually we just rent one for the tour. It seems easier than getting mine out of the attic. Lately I've been using the BA210, this one right here, but I also have from a while back, I have an 800 watt top. That works really well for me with one of the cabs that's tilted up. I love the way Ampeg started making cabinets that, like monitor speakers, tilt up at me, because really my parameters when I'm on tour is I don't want to play really loud for the other guys. They have monitors, they can have it as loud as they want. I'm playing for myself, and it just works better to have the speaker in front of me and aimed up at my ears. I find it leads to less leakage and to a better bass sound where it counts out in front. On tour, the amps I use are quite different than the ones I use at home. Depends on the tour. If I'm the one carrying the amp, then I use probably something like this. In fact, this very one, the BA210 is what I used on my last tour with the Levin Brothers. It was a jazz tour, and I didn't need the kind of volume on stage that I sometimes need. With Peter Gabriel, we'll usually not lug my SVT out of my home recording studio, but we'll rent an SVT, usually a classic top, for Peter Gabriel tour. King Crimson, it varies a little bit. The last tour, we wanted to keep it quiet on stage, so again, I was using the wonderful cabinets that are like monitor cabinets, the Ampeg cabinets that face up so I don't leak into other guys' microphones, especially the vocal mics. And in the old days with King Crimson, I did use an SVT with 8x10, the big thing, but our roadies were young then and could carry them. I use a bunch of basses, typically Music Man. I've been playing Music Man for a long, long time, and my default basses are Music Man. The Stingray 5 gives me more options. Through the years, I've acquired some other Stingrays, including a 3-string I had them make for me, and occasionally I play that, but the 5 is very useful. And I'm quite known for playing the Chapman stick. Emma Chapman makes a fantastic instrument. There are subtle differences in the different types of sticks, but generally I play the stick, the 12-string, and there's a 10-string too. And for instance, in my group Stickmen, I only played the stick, and the stick, by the way, has bass side and a guitar side, so I use bass amp and guitar amp. It's a stereo output, and I think those 3 instruments cover most of what I do musically. What I would impart to people starting out in music, whether they're a bass player or another instrument player, is that it's a great chance to play music. It's a wonderful way to spend your life, but there is this thing in the music industry and the business of playing music in bands and stuff. There are tough moments when you get fired from a project, or when you play something you think is the best thing you ever played, and you buy the record and you're not on it anymore. And I think it's useful to impart to people early in their careers that same thing happened to all of us who became, quote, successful in the business, and it happens at every stage. It still happens to me now, but that's just a part of the industry of music, and it's a good thing to know, and try to not take it personally in the case that it does happen to you. I hope for your sake that it doesn't happen to you. About Ampeg amps, part of it for me is just the first amp I had. It's when I decided to play an amp, I went around and looked at a few that would have been in the 60s, and I got the Portaflex that they still make, and it's still great, and it was easy to bring to gigs. And only later, when I started playing in louder rock bands, the SVT just sounded right. It sounded like heavy rock. And in my studio experience, part of the parameter of what I do is working with producers to give them what they want. And I have found through the years that the Ampeg, especially the SVT, gives the rock band the sound that we all want. And you can't ask for more from an instrument, from a bass. I want it to be strong and powerful, and cool and big and fat, and that's what Music Man basses give me, and the Ampeg, especially the SVT, gives me a heavy rock sound that's pretty definitive, at least from the end of the amp. What I have coming up soon is I'm going to South America with Stickman. That'll be really great, including a couple of countries I haven't been to. Then I'll spend a little of the summer playing with Levin Brothers, this jazz band I like playing with, probably around the US. Then I go to England, and King Crimson has intense rehearsals, and we'll tour all fall and into the winter, and that'll be great too.